Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Ross, and I'm presenting today's webcast on data center emissions monitoring. And just want to do a mic check here to make sure y'all can hear me loud and clear. So if you could give me a thumbs up or clap to let me know. Fantastic. Thank you, Shane. So a little bit of background on me. I've been in the industry for over 20 years in roles such as solutions architect, design engineer, test engineer, applications engineer, product specialist, and I'm currently serving as the inside sales manager at HORIBA Instruments Incorporated out of our Houston, Texas office. I also want to acknowledge that many of my HORIBA teammates worked on this webcast from its inception, doing research, preparing the slides, making numerous revisions to the slides, doing marketing, logistics for this webcast, and coming up with the talking points as well as encouragement for me. And I'm truly thankful for everybody's hard work on this. I think that we put together a good bit of information for y'all today. All right, so let's get started. A little bit of background. We all know that data centers have become critical infrastructure that supports AI, cloud computing, and digital services. We also know that as computing demand grows, facilities require more power, and that creates environmental and compliance considerations. So today we're going to discuss the relationship between data center growth, emissions monitoring, regulatory requirements, and HORIBA's solutions team. I do want to acknowledge, though, that every facility is different. So emissions monitoring strategies need to be tailor-made and site-specific for each site's operational and compliance needs. So with that as the background, let's go ahead and get started. And full disclosure, I just had to update my computer, some sort of Microsoft update in there. And just prior to this, I was running through the slides and PowerPoint was auto advancing on me. So hopefully we won't have these issues here as we get into this. All right, so the agenda for today is going to include us reviewing the growth of data centers and their increased power demand. We'll include discussing environmental and regulatory considerations associated with backup generators and off-grid power generating systems. We'll be reviewing where emissions monitoring is typically performed and which pollutants are commonly measured. We'll also be introducing HORIBA's trusted experience with emissions monitoring solutions. Today's agenda will conclude with questions and discussion related to your applications. So please go ahead and jot down your questions and comments in the meeting comments window, and we'll go ahead and cover them at the end of the presentation. So if everything works out as planned, we should be able to get you guys out of here early and answer all your questions. Okay, so data centers are major energy consumers. We know that. So every search, every video stream, every cloud application, and every AI interaction requires computing power. We know that data centers operate continuously and consume significant amounts of electricity. We also know that AI is accelerating demand for both computing capacity and electrical power. So as facilities expand, operators often require additional generators, turbines, and backup power systems. These assets create emissions that may require testing, reporting, and continuous monitoring. So data center growth is no longer just an IT issue. It's become an energy and environmental management issue. Global data creation continues to grow rapidly. We see it in the news all over. We know that AI, cloud computing, Internet of Things devices, and are all driving demand for more infrastructure. More data requires more servers, more storage, more cooling, and of course, more power. Increased electrical power demand often leads to additional on-site power generation assets. So as this infrastructure grows, so does the need to understand and manage the emissions portion. Digital growth and the environmental responsibility that comes with it are now directly connected. So, data center projects are increasing in both size and complexity. We've got larger facilities which require larger electrical systems and greater backup power capacity. Reliability remains the highest priority for data center operators. Additional generators and turbines, we know, create new environmental and potential compliance obligations. So we've got emission monitoring requirements that now may need to be considered much earlier in project planning. We also see that society is demanding that reliable power and responsible environmental performance must work together. So what we're seeing now is that the regulatory requirements are increasingly affecting data center planning. These backup generators and main power turbines that are off-grid provide reliability, but also may need to be regulated, to have their emissions sources regulated. And depending on the application, facilities might require testing, reporting, and continuous emissions monitoring. It's an air permit that's issued by the local agency that often establishes the site-specific compliance requirements. So it's now more important than ever for organizations to understand the emissions obligations before these issues arise, and more often than not at the inception of the data center project. So how does HORIBA come into play here? Well, we can help customers generate the accurate emissions data that supports their compliance and operational requirements. And just to summarize, it's with data centers and the speed at which these projects are coming about from inception to completion, it's become very, very obvious to the industry that reliability and environmental compliance are complementary objectives. They need to be considered together. So as I mentioned earlier, in the news, we see that data center growth and related emissions are receiving increased attention from regulators, utilities, and the public. Industry discussions increasingly focus on energy demand, sustainability, permitting, and backup power needs. Operators need reliable emissions data to support compliance as well as their planning. So we see that facilities and engineering firms that proactively address emissions monitoring are generally better positioned for future growth than those that don't. So understanding these emissions today for these organizations will help them avoid these compliance challenges tomorrow. So next here, I want to talk about how effective monitoring begins by first identifying so here we go, where slides are automatically advancing. Let me back up here, getting ahead of ourselves here. Oh, I gotta love Microsoft here. So, to begin the process, effective monitoring requires that we identify the correct sampling location. And here we go. Let's try and stay on this slide number 8 as long as possible, or speak faster here. Common monitoring points include gas turbines, backup generators, and emissions control equipment. Yeah, this is going to be fun. All right, I might just let it roll here, but typical measurements include NOx, CO, O2, SO2, and ammonia. And there's a number of sampling points here on this slide, and it depends on the site-specific construction architecture, what they are planning on or are currently using for their power generation. And my apologies for the back and forth here. I thought my reboot would correct this, but Murphy's Law is in full force today. All right. Boy, this is just a little bit distracting here. See if there's something I can do here to pause that. Give me just a second. I don't know if there's, actually gonna pause the presentation here a minute and see if I can turn off if there's an auto advanced feature that's on here that shouldn't be. And I do not see that. All right, go ahead from the current slide and go ahead and swap again here and back up. Fingers crossed, maybe this will help. Again, my apologies, but so we know that the emissions monitoring is either going to support compliance, reporting, or the site's process control, or its need for optimization of its process, its fuel consumption, its pollution abatement, or all of the above. We also know that monitoring requirements are going to vary based on equipment, the age of equipment, what permits needed or were issued by the permitting agencies, and what the site's specific operating objectives are. So there's rarely a one-size-fits-all solution. HORIBA's role is to help customers develop monitoring strategies that fit their specific applications. All right, so now we've made it finally to slide 9. This is kind of comical today. All right, so on this slide, we see that HORIBA has 5+ decades of experience in emissions measurements. Our history parallels the evolution of environmental regulations worldwide, and we've supported customers across a number of industries, which include power generation, manufacturing, refining, as well as petrochemical. And many of the compliance and reporting challenges that are emerging in this huge data center growth expansion have already been addressed in these other industries. So HORIBA is able to combine our measurement technology expertise with our practical compliance expertise and help customers apply proven emissions monitoring solutions for this huge growth in the data center market. All right. Should have just moved right to slide 9, I guess. It's happy to stay there. See what happens for the rest of the presentation. Okay, so to support our North American customers locally, HORIBA maintains human resources throughout North America. Our organization includes sales, engineering, service, project management, and technical support teams. Our facility in Houston, Texas plays a key role in the execution of our environmental monitoring, integration, projects, service, and support. And our customers benefit from our local coverage and support. It's one of the keys that differentiates HORIBA from other solutions providers in this industry. So from HORIBA's standpoint, we really truly understand that emissions monitoring systems are long-term investments. So their quality, their reliability, their value, and their support are critical to not only our customers' long-term success, but also to the long-term success of HORIBA. So our emissions monitoring solutions are used on turbines, including natural gas turbines, other power generation turbines, and as well as industrial combustion systems. We've seen that data center applications frequently involve emergency generators and off-grid or on-site power assets. So successful monitoring requires more than selecting an analyzer. It also requires, as I was showing on a previous slide, designing of sample systems, installation designs, where sample points, calibration strategy, maintenance planning, and reporting requirements of the site. All these details matter, and they're details that our team brings together, considers, and determines a complete monitoring solution, site-specific, for each one of our customers. It's a process that we go through. We have a team that gets together multiple times during the week to go over new customers' requirements and to customize a solution for specific to that customer. Something we exercise pretty darn close to pretty much every day, every work day of the year. All right, this next slide shows how HORIBA offers multiple technologies to address different monitoring objectives. The NDA7000 cabinet-based solution to the left supports continuous emissions monitoring applications. The PG300 at top center supports portable testing and at-site verification activities. And the VA5000 in the lower right supports process gas analysis, as well as process control and process optimization. And selecting the appropriate technology depends on each site's unique application requirements and compliance goals. So one of the things our team evaluates is which platform makes the most sense and is going to provide the most value for our prospective customer. The NDA7000 is HORIBA's continuous emissions monitoring platform. It's designed and built to support long-term compliance applications. It measures multiple pollutants from a common platform. And again, we're going to have this slide. I'm going to force this to go back here a little bit. I might have to go back again. My apologies here. So we're able to measure multiple pollutants from this common platform. We see a display here on the right of this slide. We also have a modular architecture that allows us to easily customize solutions specific to a site's requirements. And this NDA7000 is easily applied to whether it's an emergency generator, primary turbine, backup turbine, an exhaust system, or emissions control equipment. We can quickly customize these solutions. As far as the measurement and the hardware that's selected for the NDA7000, we've designed and selected this system to be able to provide accurate, reliable emissions data over the long term. Again, we want something that has technology in it that's going to outlast the need for the measurement. All right, let me actually back up here. I think we are on the correct slide here. Just do a check here. All right, I'm going to back up one more. Okay. All right. And get to this. Okay, so other things that I want to point out is measurement performance obviously is important. You need an accurate measurement, but operational efficiency also matters. You know, we don't want our customers spending an arm and a leg in order to maintain and support. So some of the things that we've incorporated is we've got this this touch screen display here, which simplifies day-to-day use. Also have the ability to remotely access this screen, which includes all of the diagnostics remotely. So we don't need to send somebody out in the field. The unit can be diagnosed and controlled from a control room. We've attempted with this screen and the way it's laid out to make maintenance activities such as updating calibration gas concentrations as quick and efficient as possible. And again, we're looking for a reliable performance and really looking for a total cost of ownership for our customer. Let's see on the slide 15, we'll see what happens here. Cross our fingers, maybe we'll stay on the slide for a second. So different applications require different pollutants to be monitored. So the NS7000 supports the common emissions measurements. And here's the list, but they include NOx, sulfur oxides, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and ammonia. I've gold starred the ones on this, the gases on this table, and that are most commonly requested measurements for data centers. And typically, what we find is our customers, just for simplicity's sake, are attempting to limit the number of gases that they measure, and again, to get the total cost of ownership, long-term maintenance costs, especially, down as low as possible. Okay. Other thing I want to point out here is that the NS7000 uses EPA-approved measurement methods to measure these emissions gases for data centers as well as in other markets. The NS7000 system, we always make sure that each NS7000 system that's built and tested and shipped is configured to meet the specific needs of each site's application. Our team wants to make sure we measure what matters for your site's compliance and operational objectives, nothing more, nothing less. All right. Successful monitoring solution includes much more than an analyzer, though. So as I mentioned before, considerations for proper sample conditioning is essential for long-term reliability of any gas analyzer system. We can install these systems inside cabinets, inside shelters. We have wall-mounted assembly solutions, which the center photograph is an example of a sample system we custom designed for one of our customers and duplicate it when that need arises for any new prospective customers. The photo at left is a cabinet, an NS7000 cabinet that's under construction. It has its front and rear doors and its side panels removed for access, but once this system's complete, it'll be fully buttoned up, and I'll show you a photo of what that looks like from the front on the next slide. Other thing that I wanted to point out is that solutions are available for both general purpose locations as well as classified hazardous area locations. Something else I want to point out is that at HORIBA, our team's able to provide support during all phases of your project. So often, and especially with data centers, we get involved at the beginning stage. And so this is at the design stage. We're also brought in and we partner with potential customers during the budgeting phase. And then obviously at award, we're involved during the construction phase. And when the NS7000 is shipped, we're there alongside the customer to support the installation, startup, commissioning, and service of the NS7000 throughout its life cycle. So, and the reason we do this is that at HORIBA, it's our fundamental belief that the best monitoring solutions are fully supported. Not only are they custom designed, but they're supported. So we want to make sure that the customers have their questions answered when they need maintenance items as they're replacing filters and such, that they can get those components as quickly as possible. All right, so as I mentioned, this slide here, I'll just walk through the photos here. at left, we have one of these completed N-to-7000 cabinets on site. Let's get another slide that just doesn't want to stay. And far right photo is that same cabinet with the front door opened, exposing the user interface at the top, as well as the control signal and measurement hardware underneath. Photos at the center, top center, is the similar cabinet. This one's installed inside a shelter building. Again, my apologies for the auto advance there. And to the right of that would be this system, which details in the center lower photo, but here we see it in the top photo where that sample system is mounted, wall mounted on the analyzer shelter wall, just to the right of the N-to-7000 cabinet. So, you know, these configurations that you're looking at here, these customers went through this, you know, this process from feed engineering through budgeting to construction, and this photo here, I think, is a unit that in the last 3 months, just in the last 3 months, was started up by one of our very good customers here in the Gulf Coast region. Okay, I guess we're going to the next slide, whether I want to or not. Let's see. I covered everything there. All right, so I wanted to talk about here on this slide is how HORIBA provides complete integrated monitoring solutions. We've got our picture of our Houston facility here, where we support not only cabinet manufacturing, shelter manufacturing, but also manufacturing configuration, testing, certification, and service of our analyzers here out of our Houston facility. We maintain inventory of spare and replacement parts. So in the unlikely event that you need some components replaced on your analyzer, we can either ship them to you for you to service in the field, or a quick return of your analyzer here to the Houston facility, and we can get it repaired and certified back to factory standards and ship it back to you in a usually a really quick time frame. Other things that go on in our Houston facility is here's where we have our engineering and procurement teams. Our startup and support and our ongoing service teams are also managed out of this facility. What we've seen is, and I have some artwork here, process system integration, you know, water quality, shows some artwork of integration projects where we built analyzer solutions on the exterior and interior of analyzer shelters, and that's something that our team from conception, design, construction, support, and startup can take care of all of those needs here at this facility as well. One of the things our customers appreciate about HORIBA is our experience with all these varied systems and all these varied integrations. And it's helped our existing customers reduce their project risk, as well as simplify their implementation. There's a number of components and steps in their construction, installation, and startup phase that we're able to handle for them and make their lives easier. What I'd like to talk about next is the HORIBA's PG300 series portable analyzer. And the reason this analyzer was designed is HORIBA understood that not every application requires a permanently installed analyzer. But also that a portable analyzer that can measure combustion measurements, have a self-contained onboard sample system, could be used for commissioning, troubleshooting, maintenance, as well as verification activities. This PG300 was actually configured to measure multiple gases simultaneously. We can put 5 different measurements inside a single unit. Those measurements, there's some pre-configured combinations of measurements. However, our most commonly requested and sold includes NOx, O2, CO, CO2, and SO2. So all of those would be helpful for any data center power emissions measurement needs. All right, that's about it on that slide. So moving on to HORIBA's VA5000 series analyzer can help customers with compliance monitoring and process monitoring, which both serve different but complementary purposes. So if you've got a report on nitrogen oxide, but you've got to control your ammonia injection into your SCR, products like the VA5000 and the N7000 can do an inlet-outlet measure comparison and help you manage your ammonia usage as well as ammonia slip. Not only that, but the VA5000 with data centers as well as in general power generation sites can help those operators understand their equipment performance and provide continuous gas measurement and with a level of complexity that's lower than the N7000. So if somebody's looking for a more cost-effective means to manage their process and their operation, but doesn't necessarily need reporting, perhaps the VA5000 is a platform to be considered. Right. To the next. All right. So in summary, we've seen that data center growth continues to increase power demand. This additional power infrastructure creates emissions monitoring and compliance requirements. We've seen that the monitoring requirements can vary by facility, equipment, permits, and operational objectives. And what we've recognized here at HORIBA is there's no universal monitoring solution that takes into account all of these site-specific needs. So as I've mentioned throughout the presentation, just want to summarize here that at HORIBA, we're going to work with our customers and continue to work with our customers to determine what should be measured, where it should be measured, and which technology is most appropriate to perform the measurement and report the data. So HORIBA has the N7000 as the premier emissions monitoring solution, the portable PG300 analyzer for portable measurements, and the VA5000 that can be used for some operational and process control solutions. So I guess I'll kind of end at this slide that for today's data center expansion, we've really come to know over the past couple of years that reliable power and environmental compliance need to work together. And we're positioned here at HORIBA to help our customers do just that. So on behalf of the entire HORIBA emissions monitoring team, I want to personally thank you for participating in this presentation. And I'd also ask you to please let us know how we can help you and your team with new projects, facility expansions, power generator monitoring, turbine monitoring, compliance requirements, CEMS upgrades, CEMS replacements, or basically any gas measurement need. All we ask is that you just simply reach out to us. We got our contact information here on this screen. We're going to make this presentation available that you can refer back to, and then I'll back up to this slide here in just a minute. So all we ask is that you give us the opportunity to answer your emissions monitoring questions, and if we can't answer it, you reach out to us and we can't answer it, we will get you to one of our team members, or if it's a product or service that we don't offer here at HORIBA, but we know somebody that has a good reputation in the industry, we're more than happy to put you in contact with them as well. All right, so today we're encouraging you to get on your favorite social media platform and follow HORIBA. We typically, on a periodic basis, post information about future webinars, industry news, regulatory updates, technical resources, and HORIBA product developments. So again, in summary, HORIBA, we're striving to be a long-term resource for emissions monitoring and compliance information. And we believe that presentations like this one that you're attending today and taking time out of your busy day to attend it, as well as posting and staying connected to our community, are ways that we can do just that. At this time, we'd like to address your questions and comments related to data center emissions monitoring, permitting, compliance generators, turbines, monitoring technologies, or just any gas analyzer question that you may have. So Lance, what questions do we have out there? And let me get to the screen here. Can't hear you yet, Lance. Just give Lance a second here. Okay.
Okay, how's that?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Sorry, my computer.
Okay, so
okay,
I see okay. A question here. It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So it's asking about how what's the workaround that HORIBA's experienced for the Department of Homeland Security safety related issues, and I guess the easiest way to address this is it's basically site specific. So if the data center in question, if the project in question has a security protocol, as we're going through the feed, the design, the quoting, talking about the communication application, that those considerations are brought in upfront and discussed. And so, for example, let's just say that a site would need to have their equipment on site completely separated from the internet. So there's no way that the system could be connected to the internet. HORIBA equipment's still going to operate. It would limit the amount of remote, obviously take away the remote connection, but as far as the functionality and efficiency of operating and maintaining the equipment on site, none of that would change. But I guess so that was the long answer. But the short answer is we work with each customer to make sure that the communication protocols that are employed meet their safety requirements.
Hey, Brian, if I could add on to that.
All right.
As far as the DHS goes, they're going to work in conjunction with the EPA based on what each site-specific permit is going to indicate. So they're going to follow the lead of the EPA on that. Keep in mind that when it comes to these CEMS systems, these analyzers are going to monitor for the components that they are listed out on their permit. They're not going to pick up anything.
Okay. Another question that comes up often is, and it was asked earlier as well, is how can we ensure that your system's going to comply with the EPA requirements? And so just in general, if there's reporting agencies requiring you to report your emissions, you're going to need to apply for an air permit. You're going to get granted an air permit, and the air permit's going to tell you which pollutants you're going to need to measure and what the maximum output of those pollutants that facility is going to be allowed to generate. So once you make HORIBA aware of your reporting requirements, then we customize the measurement to perform the data that will allow you to collect that information and report it to the EPA. All right, check and see if we've had any other questions that have come up here. Second.
Hey, Brian.
All right. And a similar question as far as measurement ranges. So kind of back up to the slide here. Here we go. So there's a number of measurement ranges that the NS 7000 and the PG 300 and the VA 5000 can be configured to. And what we basically do is we'll, based on the estimated or known performance of the emissions generator, gas turbine, backup generator, diesel generator, we will configure that analyzer with the appropriate measuring range that's going to capture, complete and accurate data for that customer. And we customize those ranges based on the known information about that turbine, about that data center's equipment, as well as what the reporting agency's looking for as far as pollutants. All right, I think that's all the question. Oh, here's one more. Oh, yeah, I guess I'm not, and I don't know why I'm not hearing everybody. Yeah, I can't. Oh, thanks for the info. Yeah, I'm not hearing. Boy.
All right, well, I'll chime in real quick here. I think everybody else can hear me. To go back to the question about the Department of Homeland Security, I'll just reiterate. So the DHS is going to work through the EPA, and they're going to be called in those particular kinds of scenarios when the EPA has indicated some sort of extreme outlier. And they're basically going to follow the lead of the EPA. Your permit is going to indicate whether or not what would be considered an outlier, but you have to keep in mind that the components that the ENDA or the PG or the VA are going to read are only they're assigned. So if there's anything foreign in that, the ENDA is not going to be able to pick that up. To just kind of put a cherry on top of that is we've never been in a scenario where we have a customer that has caused the Department of Homeland Security to be involved. And we work with some pretty nasty stuff, SO2 as an example. We've yet to have the DHS get involved. It's a viable question for sure, but unless you're putting something weird into your SCR that's going to make it go nuts, I think we're confident that if the DHS isn't going to get involved. Again, if they do want to get involved, they're going to work through the EPA, and the EPA will have all the necessary data to be able to determine whether or not it's something they need to stick their nose into, for a lack of a better term. And then one thing I wanted to follow up to, as far as the webinar goes, this will be posted on all of our social media platforms, as Brian had mentioned. I'll be following up here in the coming days once it is posted to see if you have any other questions to follow up for us to follow up on, or if you'd like a quotation, or if you'd like a meeting. We're certainly open to those things for sure. But I will also include the link to go to our YouTube page, which is under HORIBA Process and Environmental. And I would also encourage you, to view some of the other webinars that we have on there, from all of our different products, from our gas products to our process ramen technology. We're a full service shop, and if we can't find a solution that will help you, we can help you find somebody who does. So let's see. Seth has another question here. A lot of data centers are going forward before having permits issued and are sourcing SIMs and other equipment. How do you guide them in this case? Yes, Seth, that is not, dealing with the data center scenario. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are kind of putting the cart before the proverbial horse. But thankfully, we have a significant amount of experience in dealing with specifically an SCR in this particular scenario. And we can kind of generically give people an idea as far as what the ranges are. More often than not, the customer knows what sort of amounts that they're running through their SCR, whether they're going to be injecting ammonia in it to speed up the process or to test the efficiency of the SCR. We have a ballpark idea of what those ranges are. And then once the permit is issued, we can adapt accordingly. Thankfully, there are very few scenarios where if you have to change a range, that it's actually going to change the price of the analyzer itself. If you need to add a component, obviously that will change things, but that would be a negligible cost.
Hey guys, I finally got audio for you so I can hear you now, Lance.
Okay. So yeah, just to go back to Arthur's question real quick. I'll be sending out an email here in the coming days that will have contacts for follow-ups. And it will also have the link to our YouTube page on that. So I think that's all we have for right now, Brian.
All right. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but appreciate your attention, your time here, and please feel free. You'll have the ability to download copies of this webcast, and feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to help make your emissions monitoring issues a little bit lighter. Please let us know, and hope you have a great day. Thanks again.